Hey everyone, this is Melissa Ciudakis and Mallory Thompson, my co-host, coming to you from A Breath of Fresh Marketing. Hey Mallory.
Hey Melissa.
How's it going?
It's Friday.
I know. It's weird when we do daytime podcasts.
I know. My house is a little loud, just saying. We are definitely having ABA therapy in my front room, and there's some screaming happening. Not gonna lie to you, so there could be some very exciting shrieks in the background today. So.
Got it.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, no, I know how that goes. I have a bunch of contractors that are cleaning up and leaving for the day. They've been here since 8 a.m., so that's positive. Some of the noise level on my side will be going down.
Oh no, more contracting?
Yeah, we're still tearing up the backyard, and today we installed about 20 copper 10-foot rods into the ground. Yeah, so supposedly that's supposed to help get rid of the stray voltage that I've been talking about for the last 3 weeks.
Do they know where it's coming from? Or
no, they can't find it. So it's not the neighbors. They can't figure out where it's coming from. So they're just going to fill our property with copper rods. And apparently the electric company actually said that should do the trick.
Well, okay. That's very old-fashioned. I feel like
so weird.
That's a pretty interesting solution.
Yeah. So it was pretty interesting watching them install the rods today, and then they connect all the rods like with the copper wiring, so it ends up being like a huge spider web underneath your property.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I was like, at least it'll be safe. That's the bottom line.
Well, you'll never be able to use a metal detector on your property, so
right.
You'll be constantly disappointed. So there's that. Dude, so they're all underground, these copper rods?
Yeah, they basically just shoved them into the ground and impaled them, I guess, and that's it. My brick patio is still, it looks like a Tetris board. They pulled out all the brick, and they're still running wires around the pool, so I have no idea. But I think it's better I just don't look until it's finally done. But it's just been going on for weeks and weeks, and it's very frustrating. But
yeah,
on to bigger and better. So today we have president and lead psychotherapist at Houston Relationship Therapy, Dr. Viviana Coles. She has a private practice providing relationship therapy, sex therapy, and premarital counseling. She's on the hit Lifetime series, Married at First Sight. Welcome to the show, Dr. Coles.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. How's everything going? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and a certified sex therapist in private practice here in Houston, Texas. I have a practice that really focuses on sexual, emotional, physical intimacy. And so we're talking to relationships and individuals all the time.
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine how that goes. Does that totally bog your head down at the end of the day?
It used to. When I first started working with couples, I felt like they were completely overwhelming, and it was just, I would come home really, really tired and exhausted. But as I've really honed the way that I work with couples, it seems like it's a lot more manageable, a lot more palatable, and it's still challenging, but much more rewarding.
Nice.
So tell us a little bit about your position as the president and lead instructor at the Texas Sex Therapy Institute. That is a mouthful. Tell us what goes on there. How do you spend your days?
No pun intended.
So, actually, the Texas Sex Therapy Institute is one of the projects that I have. It isn't what I typically do every day. My private practice is Houston Relationship Therapy, And I have had the practice for, almost a decade and a half at this point. And over time, I've found incredible women who really truly are just as interested as I am in helping couples and individuals experience success when it comes to relationship and sexual intimacy. So we do a lot of that every single day, especially now virtually. We're able to do it pretty much 24/7 as needed from our clients. And then the Texas Sex Therapy Institute is a certification program for other mental health professionals who want to become certified sex therapists. And that right now we have a program. It is in Austin. The first program that we had was here in Houston, and we had many years of here in Houston, but now we're moving over to Austin. And then hopefully in 2021, we'll be having our program go virtual so we can do it online from wherever.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, awesome. So tell us a little bit about this show. Did Lifetime approach you about being a cast member? How did that all come to be?
So actually, I went after it. I had been approached by several production companies about shows that weren't yet on the air and were being kind of pitched to different networks. And that started back in 2015. 2017, I had kind of this epiphany of sorts that said, okay, you never really thought about being on camera or action. On TV. That wasn't really something that I had any aspirations to do. But if so many production companies are coming to you with like wanting to have you on TV, why not look into a company that already has amazing quality programming and let them know who you are and see if that kind of is attractive to them. And sure enough, I reached out to Kinetic Content, is the production company behind many hit relationship shows, but Married at First Sight is the one I'm a part of. And the next day after sending that email, I received word from their casting department that they did in fact want to meet with me. And of course, this is all via Skype. Even long before COVID, there's definitely a lot of Skype sessions going on. And they, I think from what they told me, they kind of fell in love, and I felt like it was a great fit too. It wasn't until probably 2 years later that I actually was offered the spot on Married at First Sight. And during those 2 years, anytime that I had the opportunity, which turned out to only be twice, but to go and be face to face with them in their offices or on location, I did. And they said that really helped them to feel comfortable with me and to understand what I'm really about. And when it came to putting up names for the position, I was at the top of the list because I had really kind of put effort into creating a relationship with them.
Yeah. And you know what? Hard work pays off. Definitely. Right?
It's been wonderful. It's a really amazing experience, very unique. It's a different way to use my skill set. That's what I love about it. You know, I can only see so many clients face to face, and by face to face nowadays, I don't mean in the office. I mean, you know, across from me in whatever platform. But in this situation, it's so wonderful because I get to reach so many more people who are maybe struggling or who don't want to struggle in relationships. And they can learn from not only my expertise, but from the other experts on our panel. And then, of course, from our couples who are super brave to put their truly very intimate lives out there for everyone to learn from and to see. And of course, with that comes some criticism. People would love to do things differently at times, and we would too, but you know, they all learn from it. So it's a really just interesting way of using the skill set that I have.
Definitely. So what's something you didn't anticipate happening on your first day on the set?
I didn't anticipate everyone being so incredibly polite and caring.
Nice.
I don't know. I guess I just imagined backstage that people are kind of like rude, or, you know, they don't like the minute that the cameras turn off, everyone just kind of turns to their phones and is like in their own world. And it is not like that. I needed it though. I needed it, you know, being a Texan, I needed to have that kindness, that eye contact, that I was a little bit worried and skeptical, but I needed that. And they made me feel so just welcomed, even though, it was kind of a shock to them too, that they would be having a new expert for that season. So I knew that they must have been wary. I would have been wary, and they just accepted me really openly, and it's been so amazing.
That's incredible. So running your own practice must be really rewarding. Can you walk through?
It has been, and very, very challenging. I remember when I've always known that I wanted to be in private practice. At first, it was mainly because I wanted the flexibility of running kind of my own schedule. I knew that I wanted to eventually be married and have children and have a career that would work with a home life. And I realized very quickly that for me, private practice was the way to do that. But I did not anticipate that I would need to have an entire team in order to make that happen. It's not just me. Very quickly, as soon as I came back home from out of state going to grad school in Florida, I put on my business card that I'm a certified sex therapist, as I just figured I would put that there in case anybody ever needed to talk about sex. And, of course, relationships include all that. But I didn't realize that so quickly it felt like all of Houston was knocking on my door. And so very quickly I had to, hire on an intern, and then another intern, and another. And it just kind of grew and grew and grew. And then I needed to have an office manager who, to this day, continues to be my right hand. She's amazing. And I have the most amazing team. I have 8 incredible women who work with me in my practice and who are doing the most amazing things with clients in order to really pass on this idea that relationships mean so much. And if you have satisfaction in your relationships, it really does feel like the rest of the world just kind of, the stressors roll away, and I think that we're all kind of have the same mission to help people have healthy relationships, healthy sexual relationships, so that they can do the best at the other things that they do and bring into the world.
What's like the number one sex issue that couples complain to you about?
Sexual desire discrepancy. And what that means, it's a long way of saying that someone wants it more than the other. And so I see that a lot, and it sounds like it would be an easy fix, but the reasons behind having either higher or lower sex drive are so varied, and it can become kind of its own entity in a relationship, in an otherwise healthy relationship. We have a lot of couples and individuals who come in and say, everything is going amazing in our relationship, but our sex life stinks. Aww. And usually it's accompanied with a lot more tears than that, and a lot more frustration and even resentment. So that's where we come in as licensed professionals to really dig in as to why things are the way that they are, and then help them to reach their goals intimately. Of course, that includes emotional as well as the physical.
Sure. No, that makes sense.
So what does helping a couple like that usually look like? Is it, encouraging them to have more sex, or encouraging one of the couple that wants it more to calm down, or is it more complicated than that?
Well, I definitely think it's more complicated than that, because if it were that easy, my goodness, we would just write a little pamphlet and then, email it to them and, hey, do this and you'll be fine.
Sex advice from Cosmo.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot to it, but definitely, and we can learn a lot from Cosmo, but there's a whole lot that just isn't going to be covered. So I think what it typically looks like is helping each individual partner to figure out what it is that sex and intimacy and emotional intimacy means to them, and then somehow create a narrative between the two of them that makes sense. And then, of course, we have to bring in the behavioral. So intimacy, of course, can be within your head, within your heart, but it's also within your legs. And I think that if you can get 2 people, and sometimes more, because we do work with with polyamory and sometimes swinging and all that. But, for the vast majority of people, it's a dyad partnership. So when we work with these couples, it truly is about helping them to realize that their sexual behaviors are an extension of the feelings that they have for each other, and they're an investment in the future of their relationships. It's an investment in their marriage. And so creating a space that they feel safe, that they feel secure, they feel like, there's no shame, they feel like they are actually bonding over these experiences is what we're really hoping we can help them to realize.
Do you ever meet a couple where you feel like, I can't help this couple, they're doomed? And when you realize that happens, do you just kind of tell them that, and rather than have them come back and hope that they'll change their minds one day?
For sure. I've had couples that come in and I feel like they just aren't working well together. But it's not so much that I have to tell them that. I just help them to realize that everything that they're doing is leading up to the demise of their marriage or to their relationship. Mm-hmm. So it's not often that I have to be kind of the the source of judgment. I don't often have to be like, hey guys, this isn't working. I don't think this is going to work. So bye. It's more like, okay, we have been trying everything that we can between the three of us to help you to have the relationship that you want for 6 months, a year. It is not working. Mm-hmm. What do you want to do? Because I do think that based off of the kind of help that I give couples, they should be able to see lasting quality change within 6 months. If that isn't happening, if I'm seeing them separate, if I'm seeing them consistently over the course of 6 months, I would hope that long before that they see that change. But for sure, and oftentimes if they're not seeing those changes, they'll find that it's because they're not doing the work at home, or they've already checked out and they were just going to therapy to say that they did.
Like to go through the motions kind of thing.
Exactly.
No, so the change in the relationship happens that fast then?
Absolutely. When you have two people who are miserable and they want to get better, they are going to be much more likely to make those changes very quickly. I mean, they're usually like sponges. They want guidance. They want somebody to help lead them in a caring way. Some couples work very slowly, and I have to adjust my pace to that because I'm pretty used to being really fast paced, especially now working with couples on TV. It's like it all happens, 3 weeks of therapy happens in 3 hours. So I have to be very concise and direct. But there are times where couples just need a little bit more fast pace, a little bit slower pace, and I adjust to that. But I do tend to be the one kind of pushing along, like, okay, I'm not going to let y'all sit stagnant for too long. And everybody who comes to see me seems to understand that. They kind of get my style. That's what they're looking for. So I find that change can happen very quickly.
Okay. And do you work with mostly outside of the show? Do you work with mostly younger couples or older, or is it a pretty even mix of both?
I would say I tend to work with couples in their 30s and 40s the most. I do have couples in 50s, 60s, 70s. I've had couples in their 80s. I've had some couples in their 20s, especially newlyweds, because I do premarital counseling and created a program both in person and online for premarital couples. I have couples who are they really don't want to have to go through all of the ups and downs of working through a new relationship. So they'll come in fairly quickly to just kind of work through these things as in a very proactive way. And look, I really appreciate that because I spend so much time trying to clean up 20-year-old messes. So I like it when they come in 2 months in, believe it or not, versus 20 years in. But the vast majority of couples that I see are what you would expect. People who are in their 30s and 40s have been married for, maybe a decade, have a couple kids and have felt disconnected and want to continue without having to go through a divorce.
Yeah, definitely.
So the couples that come in, a couple months into their relationship, do they do better? Do you follow up with them long term to see if they're still together, or do you have like stats on that?
So yeah, I've actually had a lot of couples. I don't tend to reach out to couples if I haven't seen them for like a year.
Okay.
I'll tend to reach out if I haven't seen them like in a month, and then 3 months, and then 6 months or 9 months. But if it's been a year, I feel like it would almost possibly be intrusive if I reached out.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible I could cause problems with confidentiality if I were to reach out. So it's not really great practice. It's not best practice for a therapist to reach out to clients if they haven't seen them in a while. And we kind of have to keep that breakup,
right.
Let it happen. I absolutely have gotten I've gotten pictures of babies. I've gotten pictures of weddings. I've gotten pictures on anniversaries.
Nice.
And I love seeing those things. They don't happen as often as I'd like, of course. I would love for people, but you know what? I don't want them to be thinking about our relationship, our client therapist relationship forever. I want them to feel like it was a chapter in their lives. And if they ever need my help, I hope that they know that I'm here.
Sure, definitely. So when does the average marriage go to shit?
I would say I would say that the first 2 years of marriage are probably the toughest, especially if you've never lived together before, but even if you have.
Okay.
And then the first year after having a child, whether it's your first, second, third, fourth, or fifth, it is very challenging to make all of these adaptations it almost seems like I think a lot of people struggle with switching roles on a daily basis. So moms tend to go full force 100% on the mom front, and then dads tend to go 100% on the provider front. And I feel like those two things can feel like they're at odds and they're two ships passing in the night. So for sure, the first 2 years of marriage can be very tough, but they typically have a lot of support, so it's okay. But the first year after having a kid is like, whoa. Yeah.
I could definitely see that. And, but then there's the other side of it too, about when I think about the honeymoon phase, where it seems like everything's so great and peachy and rainbows and unicorns in the beginning. And then after a while, things kind of settle in, right? And you're like starting to look at each other like, I hate you.
Why are you still here? That's what it's like in my house.
And, it seems like the honeymoon phase at some point just kind of leaves almost every marriage. Like, how do you keep it spicy and exciting so that you don't get to that point?
Yeah, well, a couple things. I'm starting to think that the honeymoon phase no longer really exists. I just feel like our lifestyles make it to where you come back to reality very quickly after a wedding. People are lucky to even have a honeymoon these days. Like, I don't know of everybody talking about, obviously with coronavirus and all that, but even before that, I don't know that a lot of people, it almost seems like it is just that wedding and then they go on. So the honeymoon phase, I think we're also starting to realize that they're just overlooking a lot of things. They're just letting things kind of roll off their backs during that time. It's not an actual euphoric phase. So helping people to keep things spicy, if anything, I would say I would prefer for them to keep things connected, to feel like they're on the same page, to feel like they're on the same team. That's it. That's a kind of one of those metaphors that never grows old in my profession. I want people to feel like they're on the same team, that they have similar goals, that they are each contributing to the relationship, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is. I want them to feel like they're contributors, because life is going to pull you away. Right. It almost seems like the way that we have our lives set up, at least here in the US, is that relationships are afterthoughts, and they get the crumbs. And I'm here to remind them that, like, yes, you can have all sorts of success. I mean, I'm kind of living proof of that. Like, you can have all sorts of success professionally, but it's so much more, and it's so important to have a loving home life, whether it's with kids or not, whether it's with animals or not, whatever. But if you are successful and feel happy in your partnerships, especially your romantic relationships, that's what's fulfilling.
Right. 100%.
Absolutely. So how closely does your work on Married at First Sight follow the work you do with the clients that come to the Houston Relationship Therapy?
So it's really different in the sense that, first of all, I don't ever dress up that much for my clients. Oh gosh, no, I love to be in pants all the time. I love to put my feet up on my chair. I put a blanket around me. I just want everybody to be really comfortable. That just won't fly on the show. But it's a different kind of fun, right? So I'm working with these couples on the show. I'm giving them little tidbits. I'm trying to get to the root of the matter in a very short amount of time. And it all happens to have, like, these cameras around, right? That experience makes me have to word things differently. It makes me have to work through things in a different way. When I'm in session with clients and we're talking about these things, I don't have to worry about their language. I don't have to worry about mine. Not that I don't curse, so it's not that. It's more like, how on the show, I'm always conscious of how will people who are watching learn from this. In person, I don't care who learns from it except for my clients. So we have like it's much more of a fluid relationship. There's no stopping, there's no starting, unless you have to go use the restroom. Sure, take a break. But so in that way, it's different. I think also psychotherapy looks and feels very different than advice and guidance that we give on the show. I do psychotherapy every single day, pretty much all day long. On the show, I'm dipping in and out as just one of the panelists of the experts, right? So I'm just one of the experts that gets to help by sharing expertise. I'm always authentic, so it's always going to be me. What you see is me, but me as a therapist, any of my clients would tell you, if they didn't care about confidentiality, they would tell you it's really different.
Absolutely.
So is a career in television something you're interested in for the long term? Do you see that being a full-time gig, or do you think at some point you'll transition back to your practice full-time?
So I am full-time in my practice. Fortunately, I've never had to choose between the two.
Oh, great.
I'm so thrilled to be able to have clients who work with my schedule and who are flexible and understand that all of a sudden a filming day pops up and can I move you to the next day? And, virtually it's so much easier to make sure that I'm fitting in that time with clients from wherever I am, whether I'm in another city or I'm at home. So I have not had to choose between the two. I find myself much more challenged, and I find it's very fulfilling to work with clients in private practice. So I don't ever want to let go of that. There may be weeks that I don't see as many clients as I usually do, but I definitely make up for that in the weeks that I'm free. I do see myself on TV helping in one way, shape, or form in the long run, because it's fun, and because even though it's exhausting at times, I still feel like I'm impacting people with my degree. Like, I'm still using my degree, I'm still using my license. So it also helps with the feeling of burnout. A lot of psychotherapists experience burnout rates that are super high compared to other careers. This is another way for me to avoid burnout, because I'm changing the way that I use my skill set. I'm doing things in a different way, and it's always changing. That's another thing that I love about my career, is that every person that comes in and sees me brings novelty. We're always talking about that shiny new thing. Well, every one of my clients and every one of their issues, even if they're coming back after 3 years or after 5 years or with a new partner, it's always new and different. And I love that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Do you have a favorite couple or a favorite season from the show?
Oh gosh. Well, as far as favorite couples, anyone who's watched the show will tell you that the couples who have stayed together from all of the seasons, I started season 9. So the couples that have stayed together from season 9 and 10, now they're airing 11, all of them are so different. Yeah. Like their couple styles are really different. There are people who you thought would have never made it, and they're doing awesome. You have people who are like, oh, they're smitten from the beginning, and they're doing awesome. There's just this sense of, man, there's not one way a good couple looks, right? There's no one way to be in a relationship. So favorites, I can't say that I play favorites. I can tell you that they each have, in my mind, they each have a different quality. So like Elizabeth and Jamie from season 9, they are kooky and spicy.
Right.
Like they are super spicy and passionate is the word that I would totally attribute to them. And then we have Greg and Viviana, who are just like steady.
Yeah.
They're steady. They just announced that they're pregnant. When I found out earlier,
Aww.
Oh my gosh, I found out before they announced it, and I was in tears. I was so happy for them. And they're like, don't cry. I'm like, I'm just so happy. They're just steady, and I love that. And then, we have Jessica and Austin from DC, and they are like 2 peas in a pod. They're so driven. The 2 of them are so driven, and they are steadfast, and they have kind of like this. They started off very awkward, and now their awkwardness is like what works. That's what makes them work. So yeah, they're all different and beautiful in their own ways.
Nice. Yeah, I like that.
So what do you enjoy doing after the workday is over?
Oh gosh. Well, I wish I liked to work out more.
We all do.
I definitely feel like I've gained the COVID-19. No, I'm working on it though. What do I love to do? I like to read. I don't read as often as I used to. I'm working on a book.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
I've been working on a book. I'm really trying to get it done so that I can have it out for Valentine's Day, 2021. So I'm working on that. My kiddos and my husband keep me pretty busy. We love to just get out and do road trips around Texas. We love our state. We're like, Texans through and through. So we like to explore the state. We like to, we're not necessarily outdoorsy people. We like being in the outdoors, but I'm not like a camping kind of person because, oh my gosh, you show me a snake or a spider and I will run for the hills. So we usually like to travel as a family a lot. That's just not in the cards right now. And I don't watch a lot of TV, funnily enough. I used to before I was on TV, and now I'm like, no, I'm only interested in this show. So I am a fan of the show. I continue to be a fan of the show because I'm such a fan of the process, and I'm a fan of our goals and all of our efforts. I love seeing them play out on TV and with our couples, whether they stay together or don't. I think that the whole process can actually be really beautiful, and I look for that, and I look forward to that every week. So I tend to do that. And then, talking to people about what I do, helping to mentor other people. I love doing that. I have a whole host of women that I tend to mentor and keep up with. So yeah, and I have some wonderful friendships, and they keep me just sane and grounded and keep my feet on the ground.
Nice. So when you do get to travel, whenever that's going to be, where do you like to go?
We love to go to Mexico. You know, being in Houston, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump away, and it's affordable, and there's no two places that are alike. So we love to go to Mexico, especially like the Mayan Riviera. My husband and I tend to enjoy kind of going on trips to bigger cities so we can explore and see the nightlife there and do all that. I would love to get the kiddos over to Europe, but again, right now it's not in the cards. But yeah, so between road trips now and then, you know, Texas has coast, we have desert, we have hills, we have a whole lot. So we tend to keep ourselves pretty entertained just within our state.
Well, that's great. So, do you have anything on the radar that you're excited about and wouldn't mind sharing with us?
Oh gosh, so much. So online, it's so wonderful that we've been able to really focus on our online presence. So I have my website is drviviana.com, and I have some online programs. I'm adding a few more to that. I have the ability to we're working on a digital show we're doing with my practice. So all of the clinicians in the practice will be in on a Vivid Relationship show. I have an online community called Vivid Relationships. It's all, play off of my name. And that's something where it's a monthly membership, and every week they get tips sent to them, things that they should really be challenging themselves to do in relationships or to prepare for relationships. All sorts of advice goes on there. I, again, have my book that I'm working on. I actually have a few that I'm working on, but there's like one at the forefront that I get to really, hopefully we'll have that out Valentine's Day. I'm putting it out into the universe so that I can hold myself accountable and make it happen. There is a spinoff happening for Married at First Sight, helping some singles who need some dating advice. So that's exciting. That's going to take up a lot of my time and energy. But again, it's just a different way to do what I do. So I'm very excited about that on the horizon. And, Married at First Sight was just picked up for 6 more seasons, and I hope to be a part of all of them.
6 seasons.
It's unheard of, unprecedented, and it's such a great thing. We're really excited to have, this longevity of a show is unheard of. So we're really, really excited. Lifetime has been great to us. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff happening.
Yeah, that's amazing. So very exciting. So how does our audience find out more about you? Where can you be found online? What are your social handles?
My website is drviviana.com, and all of my social media handles are the same, Dr. Viviana. Instagram is so much fun. Twitter is so much fun. Facebook, we have Houston Relationship Therapy page on Facebook. Love for you to follow Houston Relationship Therapy on Instagram as well. We're constantly giving y'all lots of good tidbits when it comes to relationships and sex and intimacy and love. So yeah, between Dr. Viviana and Houston Relationship Therapy, you'll be covered.
Sounds great. Well, Dr. Viviana Coles, thank you so much for joining us today on our show, and we look forward to seeing you on more episodes.
Thank you so much for having me. Y'all stay safe, and I'll hopefully talk to you again.
All right. Thanks. Take care.
Well, that was more than I ever knew about sex therapy before.
Yeah, we can learn a lot in 41 minutes. Which will be.
I think that's the most relationship advice I've ever gotten.
Yeah, it was kind of cool to hear about some stuff that, I guess people don't think about or they don't realize. And it was neat that she can speak to that. So it was a cool guest to have.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, nice.
I still feel like if I was dating someone and they were like, hey, I know I've only known you 2 months, but let's go to relationship therapy, I'd probably break up with them.
Yeah, for sure. No, I'd be the same.
Is my only thought on that, but
no, I agree. I think it's helpful for after you get married. If you need help, then she's the person to go to. So I think that's pretty cool. So.
Very cool.
Well, sounds like we have a busy day till the next podcast.
Yeah, right. Couple hours.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in and listening to A Breath of Fresh Marketing. I'm your host, Melissa Siudakis, and
Mallory Thompson. I forgot my name. I don't know, man. It's
yeah.
All right. Well, fine.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, have a great day and be safe.